Welcome to Tate Britain.
Well, here we are in the famous Tate Gallery.
In this series, we've been given unique access to some of the nation's most loved paintings.
I do love it.
I think you've got great taste.
Do I?
Mainly because I share it.
I'm Gus Casely-Hayford, art curator and cultural historian.
Isn't this just magnificent?
And I'd like to invite you into scenes of some of the most extraordinary paintings and remarkable landscapes.
Oh my God, it's the same.
All in the company of some very talented men and women.
Part of me does go like, I could have done that.
We'll walk in the shadows of these great artists.
Put your hands behind your back, it gives you more authority.
Rediscovering their secrets and inspirations.
I'm changing my mind about this painting now.
So sit back, enjoy the view, or better still, follow in my footsteps.
I've got my walking boots and I'm looking forward to it very much.
Hand in hand, like Watercolors.
When I think of David Bailey, I think of the de facto visual chronicler of our time. And I need his help today to unravel someone else who chronicled a golden age, John Singer Sargent.
He was the superstar portrait artist of the Belle Epoque. These were the heady days before the First World War, a time of decadence, extravagance, and social whirl, when the arts flourished. Degas was entranced by the ballet, Manet captivated by Parisian nightlife, and Sargent, as the portrait painter of the age, courted by the rich and the famous. Just like the photographer David Bailey, Sargent was at the forefront of it all. He may have been the man of the moment, but he was also an outsider, a complete enigma. So join me as I explore the world of two titans of portraiture. The only slight problem is, Bailey is a little bit skeptical of Sargent's work. And when I say skeptical, I mean he loathes him. Wish me luck.
Bailey.
Hi.
Hey.
Fancy seeing you here. Good.
So you ready?
Yeah, ready with a label.
I mean, what sort of art really floats your boat, given a choice?
Everything.
Really?
Yeah, I like people that make gnome gardens.
Really?
Anything that sort of people love what they do, because that's art.
Right.
Just being a good painter is not art, it's just being a good painter.
So what's the difference there, then?
Magic.
Magic.
Yeah, which you can't explain. You know, most photographers just take pictures. I don't take pictures, I make pictures. And hope for the accident. The camera sees things that you don't see.
Well, can I show you something? This is the Sargent that I want us to think about. This is Carnation Lily Lily Rose.
This is Tate's most loved painting, immortalized on countless postcards the world over. And you can see why. Dreamlike and wistful, it's a perfect snapshot of childhood.
It looks like something from Alice in Wonderland.
Travelling by boat down the Thames, Sargent observed two girls lighting lanterns on the bank at twilight, and he was transfixed. He became absolutely obsessional in his pursuit of recreating it. Painted at his artist retreat in the Cotswolds, he did dozens of studies and portraits. Sargent was determined to capture that very same light and would only paint in the 20 minutes each evening as the light faded into dusk. It may appear as if this was a moment chanced upon in a garden, but this painting took 2 whole years to complete.
It's the idea of capturing a moment of...
It's a frozen moment. I want to see what happened afterwards and before, if I see something like that, because he's not telling me.
You're not a fan?
Yeah, nice Christmas card.
No, but what? But you have to think about... You have to think about...
Can I take my hat off? I know you've got continuity problems, but...
Well,
I'm not knocking his painting. There's nothing wrong with his painting.
But you think his approach isn't adventurous enough?
It doesn't relate to me. I mean, he's just nice. He's sort of Netflix of 1885. It's perfectly well done and perfectly boring.
But I want you to promise me something. You're going to give him a chance.
I am giving him a chance.
Okay. And we'll go and we'll investigate.
Hand in hand.
Okay.
Like Watercolors. Serious art critic.
Broadway and the Cotswolds. Don't let expensive tea rooms and the smell of wax jackets fool you. In the Victorian era, this was the height of Bohemia, with its beautiful landscapes, cheap and plentiful studios for rent, and an eclectic mix of literary and artistic types. This quintessentially English village quickly became an artist colony.
Even now, it seems pretty unlikely that this Cotswold village of Broadway would become the centre of something utterly magical.
Our first walk begins at Broadway Tower, built by the Earl of Coventry for his wife so that they could light a beacon to each other between their homes. It's no wonder those romantics, the pre-raphaelites, fell in love with its charm, and they used it as a summer retreat. We'll follow the breathtaking country path into Broadway Village, ending at Sargent's former studio, where he created Carnation Lily Lily Rose.
This gorgeous monument sitting on the top of a Cotswold ridge attracted a whole generation of artists. Burne-Jones, Rossetti, William Morris. And then it was discovered by a new generation of artists.
Broadway must have been a hive of creativity, and Sargent adored the camaraderie it afforded.
I've always thought the key to understanding John Singer Sargent is understanding his first few years. His parents are American, but he grows up in Italy, in France, in Germany, before settling in Britain. And that early nomadic lifestyle is something that it informs him, it makes him.
Sargent considered himself an American, but the travel to a dizzying number of countries as a child was rootless, and no doubt led to a later feeling of being an outsider. This place was a sanctuary for him, and his studio, the place he created that artistic tour de force, Carnation Lily Lily Rose, which is where I'm meeting Bailey. It's now a private home and in the hands of two Sargent devotees, Malcolm and Andrew.
Hello.
Hi.
I'm Andrew.
Hi, Andrew. So this is like a big cabinet of curiosity, isn't it?
It is now.
We're to blame for that.
It's great.
So this is the wow room.
It is wow.
But you have to note it was a barn when the artists lived here.
So we're talking about John Singer Sargent.
Edwin Austin Abbey and
Yes.
another artist, Frank Millett,
Frank
who's
Millett.
not so well known.
Yes.
But the painting, Carnation Lily Lily Rose, was painted in the garden here. So in the winter, between the two seasons when he was painting it, the painting was stored up on the balcony there. And the story was that a pitchfork was put through it during the winter.
Well, that was a hayloft.
And when the Tate were restoring it the other year, they found the hole where the pitchfork had indeed gone through and proved the story was true.
Gosh.
It's funny, people always say Sargent was so clever that everything came easily to him. But with something like Carnation Lily Lily Rose, you see that he deliberately tried to do something that was as difficult for him as possible and make it happen. You know, the real virtuoso, but it doesn't come easy.
It's good. If you find something easy, try and make it difficult, and then you might find out something.
You do. That's how you learn.
I mean, the painting was staged in the flowers were all specially planted for it.
Yes.
Because Sargent sent the bulbs in the spring for planting so that they'd be ready for the painting in the summer. So it was set up rather artificially, even though it looks so natural.
And he surrounds himself here with a group of Americans and intellectuals.
Yes.
And you get a sense that he felt safe whilst he was here.
I think he felt safe. He was someone who was a public person but resented being a public person, who spent a lot of his time trying to please rich people and aristocrats, but wanted to really be with artists. You know what I'm
Yeah, I told
talking
him.
about. Yeah. You're a recluse as well in spirit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well,
But in reality,
yeah, and he was very shy. But I think from the point of view of Carnation Lily Lily Rose, there were lots of children around, and I think he loved children.
Yes.
Because he didn't have much of a childhood himself. And I think being here surrounded by families, I think he loved that.
And do you like it as a painting? What do you...
Oh, I love it as a painting. Yes, I love it. And each time I see it, it looks different.
Yeah. Well, we're all very lucky to have you two as the custodians of this very precious bit of our history.
But there was a reason that Sargent escaped here to Broadway. He was running away from something, and that something was in Paris. Welcome to Paris. Nowhere else on earth has created and inspired more artists than this city. A wide-eyed Sargent arrived here aged 18, desperate to be part of this exclusive artistic community.
John Singer Sargent was a man of singular ambition. And he knew if he was going to succeed as an artist, he'd have to do it here in Paris.
Even aged 18, Sargent was utterly exceptional, and that talent was recognized by the dazzling Carolus-Duran. This man about town also happened to be the most celebrated portrait painter in Paris, and under his tutelage, Sargent flourished. This portrait of Carolus-Duran, painted by Sargent just 5 years into his training, sums up all that Sargent had learned from him. Just look at the psychological depth at work here. Aged just 23, Sargent was becoming the master's star pupil. So come, let's take a stroll through Paris together. Our first stop is the Louvre, the world's largest art museum. Crossing the Pont Royal onto the left bank, past the Musée d'Orsay, home to works by Monet, Manet, and Degas, many of whom were friends and contemporaries of Sargent. We'll follow the River Seine and end at the jaw-dropping Grand Palais, where Sargent's career as an artist almost ended. There are some moments that only happen once in a lifetime, if you're lucky. And today just might be it. I've got the Louvre entirely to myself. 38,000 works of art, room upon room of splendor. And I'm here to see something very special indeed.
In 1878, the studio of Carolus-Duran get this major commission to paint a ceiling in the Louvre. So Duran chooses his favorite student, John Singer Sargent, to partner him in completing this commission. And as a way of immortalizing this partnership, Duran paints Sargent into the ceiling. Up here, white, shirted, bearded, looking incredibly handsome and muscular. And Sargent paints his master, the two of them held in oil forever. But Duran hadn't foreseen the way in which the painting would be received. When it was unveiled, everyone celebrated Sargent's painting of Carolus-Duran. This was a moment in which the student surpassed the master.
And if legend is to be believed, Carolus-Duran was so rattled by Sargent's rising accomplishments, he later crept into the Louvre with a ladder and a palette and removed Sargent's head from the ceiling. It's still there, of course, and what happened in the interim years is anyone's guess. But Sargent's mark on the Parisian art world was beginning to take hold. By 1879, Sargent was an independent artist with his own studio and commissions. But there was someone who had caught his attention. He became fixated with the idea of painting a society beauty, Madame Gautreau, and invited her to sit for him. This image scandalized the art world.
Madame X, as a painting, it defines that period of his life, and not in a good way.
And a woman who understands that scandal better than most is Tate curator Caroline Corbeau-Parsons.
It's a big, big setback for him. He had clearly, I think, great plans in mind. And he thought he could get away with Madame X. He thought it would be a huge success.
But she looks so real. It's a real woman. Why was it so shocking?
Well, that's part of the problem. I mean, she really represented the femme fatale. And bear in mind that she's also American.
Yes.
So for a French audience, I think she represented all those things. And there's this blatant sexuality, which is so real as well. It's very icy. You know, you can't touch her. And also, you know, you have to remember that at the time, the strap of her dress was down. So it was all very, very erotic.
It's quite suggestive.
Because there were so many negative comments. After the salon, he repainted the strap so that it would be vertical and so that the picture would be maybe more acceptable.
There are stories of her being utterly inconsolable, of her crying on her mother's arm, and a feeling that her career, her life was over. And I'm sure those weren't things that Sargent had envisaged.
No. He very much hoped that this picture would establish him as the great portrait painter in Paris.
Yeah.
And it didn't happen.
It's difficult to understand why this image was so shocking. But Madame Gautreau was married and known for her dalliances with powerful men. Whilst that was all acceptable, Sargent brazenly displaying it was not. This brash American held up a mirror to the sexual politics of high society, and they didn't like it one bit.
Seeing her so real, you know, in bright daylight at the salon was a completely different experience from admiring her beauty in society. She's an empowered woman. She's the femme fatale. She encapsulates this. It was in people's face, quite literally.
And it's not about her being American and about Sargent being American.
There's an
it's not a bit of
element of
xenophobia, of kind of these foreigners coming in and taking over with their sort of sexual ways.
I think there's a bit of a jealousy. He was very much the American painter. He was becoming famous.
But Sargent, he's mortal. He can make mistakes.
He can, yes.
And it all played out here, at the end of our walk, at the Grand Palais. You can just imagine how Sargent must have felt. Overnight, his commissions dried up. And with his career in tatters, he fled to England. And what of Madame Gautreau? Well, retiring from high society, she faded into obscurity. But that is another story. In England, Sargent expected the art world to be more receptive to his work. But even they didn't embrace him. His 1886 portrait, Mrs. Vickers, was voted the worst painting of the year by the Royal Academy. And the critics, well, they were savage. Throughout all of this, it was his friendships that sustained him, which is how he found himself at Iton Moat in the Kent countryside. This medieval moat house was the unlikely home of Queen Palmer, wife of a Colorado Railroad millionaire. She commissioned Sargent to paint her teenage daughter Elsie, and this was the result. A young lady in white, hung next to the spot where Sargent painted her. It's the first time the portrait has returned to the UK in over 100 years.
What do you think of Iton Moat?
Bit damp. Oh, there she is.
Young lady in white. Elsie Palmer.
Okay. Yeah, she looks all right, doesn't she? She's got bushy eyebrows, hasn't she?
Yes. Well, she hasn't plucked them. She's a girl.
So how old was she? 17-ish?
16, 17. Yeah. So it's over a course of a number of years that it's painted. So she begins as a girl, and I guess that, you know, at the end of the painting that she's about to become a woman. And
she looks vulnerable, doesn't she?
She does look vulnerable. But it is about that, you know, that a young girl about to become a woman, it's both vulnerability but also a kind of confidence as well.
Insecure confidence, isn't it? It's kind of a bit of recklessness, the way her left sleeve's undone and things like that.
Yes.
Which is quite good. She's left-handed, is she? She's got a bigger left eye.
I mean, she suffered from a hypothyroid condition. One of her eyes is slightly
off.
Yes, yes. And he wasn't afraid to capture that, because within that vulnerability is a kind of strength. And that is what Singer Sargent was so good at.
Yeah, she looks like a pug.
And, and I think that's one of the things about him. That he's commissioned to paint this, but he's
telling the truth.
He tells the truth, exactly.
Yeah.
And it was Sargent's ability to capture the truth in oil that would later become his defining trait as an artist.
You believe in her because Sargent believes in her.
It's a haunting portrait, and I think it's poignant that Sargent captured such strength and vulnerability at a moment when he was experiencing both of those things in his own career.
Sit around, girl. Bye.
Bye.
Bye, Elsie.
Sargent needed a break, and this painting was to be his salvation. Mrs. White was the ultimate socialite, and this hung in the dining room of her home. She was delighted with it. A perfect display of wealth, of class and breeding. Word spread, and when Sargent opened his studio in Chelsea, his career was about to be propelled into superstardom. The ever-effusive David Bailey is joining me on a journey through the life of the superstar portrait painter John Singer Sargent.
Good job I don't like him, otherwise we'd be saying the same thing, wouldn't we?
I agree.
The artist who captured the great and the good of a gilded age. And if there's one place that transformed his fortune, this was it, Chelsea. In the 1880s, this was London's answer to the left bank of Paris, the epicenter of Bohemian. For my next walk, I'm being joined by Devon Cox.
It wasn't glamorous, though, was it?
No, but that's the point.
A writer so enchanted by one Chelsea street, he dedicated a whole book to it, Tite Street.
This is the street that produced some of the most magnificent masterpieces of early 20th century art.
Beginning on the embankment, cutting down Paradise Walk, and finally onto Tite Street, home of Oscar Wilde. The place he described as full of wonderful possibilities, ending at number 33, the studio of John Singer Sargent.
So if I was here, 1880, 1890, what would it have been like?
Well, Paradise Row was quite famous for being a bit of a slum.
Oh, really?
in Chelsea. This area would have originally been docks.
Really?
And so you can imagine you had sort of a lot of sailors and that kind of coming up Paradise Row, and it was notorious for prostitutes. It really was quite a seedy place.
So when Sargent, he's coaxed into moving into Tite Street, and what would he have met when he moved in?
When Sargent arrived, Tite Street was firmly established as the centre of Bohemian avant-garde London. So he would have been met by two of perhaps the most famous personalities of the time who were living here. One was the American artist Whistler, who was quite a celebrity in his day, and also Oscar Wilde.
Two big personalities.
And I feel like at the time that Sargent arrived, he had achieved acclaim in Paris, but I feel like it was really in Tite Street that he sort of achieves this monumental fame.
Sargent was on the up, and whilst we know much of Sargent's professional life at this point, we know very little of his personal, except that he shared his studio for many years with Albert de Belroche, and they affectionately exchanged drawings of one another. The freedoms of Paris could be found here in London too.
We know that the moral values in Tite Street were very lax. This was a street, you know, full of kind of raffish young men who lived with each other. There were prostitutes here. There were rent boys here. It really was almost like Sodom and Gomorrah beside the Thames here.
So Sargent moves in down here.
Yes.
And to think it all happened here at his studio on Tite Street.
Let's have a look.
Bohemia, of course, is long gone. Sargent's former lodgings are now up for sale.
They're stunning spaces, aren't they? It's just vast.
At £15 million, furnished.
Oh. I mean, the sorts of possibilities of the space like this, and not
Absolutely.
just for art. But
They had an open door policy, basically. I mean, you can see that was an artist studio, that was a theatre, that was an artist studio. You know, the studios were open 24 hours.
Sargent was frenzied in his work, taking commission after commission. By 1898, the most famous art dealer in London, Asher Wertheimer, had instructed Sargent to paint his entire family.
He worked so hard. I mean, he was doing up to 7 sittings a day. So it really became almost a factory of portraits, one after the other. And I can imagine this space with, you know, you have your studio props, you have your bergère chairs, you have all the recamier sofas, all the, you know, things that he used to stage his sitters in. But also stacked 10 deep, you know, were frames and uncompleted portraits, and the way Sargent painted is quite interesting. You know, you have the sitter kind of over there by the window, and your canvas is midway, and you would either paint with these really long brushes, but to get some of the detail, you would have to step back, look at the sitter, look at the portrait, and then from a distance, and then run up to the painting and, like, you know, do a shadow or something, or a nostril or a glint in the eye. They said he ran up to 5 miles a day in his studio, back and forth.
But the numbers of portraits that he produces in this space, it's phenomenal, isn't it?
It is mind-boggling. Some of the most iconic faces from the late 19th, you know, up to basically the First World War in Britain came from this studio. They really, for me anyway, define the whole age of opulence, of elegance, of glamour, and it was all manufactured right here.
Take this portrait of the Mayer women, the diamond mining dynasty. Money drips through this painting, which is almost grotesque in its lavishness. Sargent could translate status and power like no other. His portraits were the Edwardian version of the rich list.
There's a very famous caricature by Max Beerbohm, which shows the outside of Tite Street looking in, and you see Sargent in the window in this row of very elegant, very, you know, befurred and bejeweled and, you know, society ladies waiting to come in and get their portraits painted.
He is a victim of his success.
Although Sargent may have been an artist for hire, he certainly wasn't biddable. He didn't flatter, and sitting for him had its own air of danger. It was said being painted by Sargent was like taking your face in your hands.
Ellen Terry actually said that, you know, Sargent goes, you know, beyond the real, and behind it is a whole social order. And I think that's so true. He somehow captures the human spirit so beautifully.
And that is Sargent's genius. He captures the hidden of his subjects. Each sitter looks directly to the viewer, and the artifice of wealth and position fades. The paint disappears, and all you're left with is candor and vulnerability that we all recognize 100 years later. And what Bailey did from the 60s onwards was very much the same. It may not have been oil on canvas, but his pursuit of finding the heart, the soul, the truth of his sitters, no matter their wealth and status, was just as seismic a revolution. Bailey doesn't capture the icons of the age, he creates them.
How I ever got into Vogue is with my accent, and because I remember they interviewed me, not Vogue, the BBC or somebody, and I went for an interview somewhere, some studio, and they said, when you speak, you must open your mouth very wide and pronounce. And by the time they'd finished with me, couldn't do the interview because I was so scared I couldn't talk like this.
And was this a period when you were working with people like Jean Shrimpton and...
Yeah, take Manhattan.
And for me, that is one of the iconic images of that period. How did that...
I'd done lots of pictures like that before, but nobody noticed.
Well, I'm sorry. But...
No, I know, but it's not your fault. Jean was just as unknown as I was. That was really the turning point in that kind of photography, I suppose. I mean, I was sad when she left me, or when we broke up, because it wasn't just like I'd concentrated on her for 3 years, you know, just her.
Yes.
So that was a double whammy, because I'd not only lost what I like photographing, anyway, it's good for me, toughen me up.
Oh.
Don't cry. Fashion's tricky. It's like the art world's pretty tricky as well.
But you managed to negotiate it over a number of decades to remain absolutely kind of at the top.
Well, it's like Waldo Emerson, isn't it? Be true to yourself.
You think, well, that's what it is?
Yeah.
And that's what you're accusing Sargent of not doing, is it? Is that what you feel?
Well, he's sort of not really true to himself because he's painting to please somebody.
Not always.
Yeah, but most of those painters like that did what... They always look the same to people.
But if someone commissioned something to go on their walls, to be seen by
they
all
want it
of
to
society...
be what they want.
No, but for you, did that never happen?
No, not really, no.
Not ever once?
No.
Not ever once?
No, I'd say get somebody who does that sort of picture. Like, there's lots of photographers now. They take the picture of the celebrity...
Yes.
Like the celebrity already looks. So all you repeat with those photographers is really what the PRs and the media machine wants.
Can I argue, though, on behalf of Sargent? For a lot of the Edwardian period, people seek him out to push those boundaries. Some of the work, Madame X, it could be dangerous, it could be difficult. He knew what he was doing, pushing boundaries as far as they could. But it was just the constraints were so tight that it might now seem that he was conservative.
I mean, these pictures are all right. They're all right. There's like lots of photographers, they're all right, but they don't go that extra... They don't gamble their reputations enough. You've got to push it all the time. I'm still pushing it.
But you've reached 80. I don't think many other photographers are as loved, are as known, are as written about, are as lauded than Bailey.
What are you doing tonight?
I knew that's what this was all about.
Had they met, I think Sargent and Bailey would have liked one another. Both were caught in a moment of zeitgeist, both defiantly committed to the truth in their work. Bailey might not be convinced yet, but there's a side to Sargent's work that I think he might respond to. The moment Sargent rejects the aristocracy for good. John Singer Sargent. For many, he's the last of the great portrait painters. But for me, he's so much more than that. And now, I'm going into the scene of one of his last great portraits. And what a setting. Blenheim Palace in Oxfordshire. By the 1900s, Sargent was fraternising with a whole new crowd, with commissions from lords, dukes, and even President Theodore Roosevelt himself. It had been 20 years since Sargent had painted Madame X. 20 years of bowing and kowtowing to the aristocracy and the great and the good. And Sargent, quite frankly, had had enough. But he would go out with a bang. This portrait wasn't painted in his studio, but here on location at the Duke of Marlborough's family seat. As commissions go, it didn't get bigger than this.
Oh, Bailey?
Hi.
This your country gaff, is it?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Gosh, well, this passageway with some of the busts of the great and the good.
Well, there's a few other descriptions you could use.
But I mean, when you come into places like this, I mean, they're designed to impress. I mean, you can imagine Sargent coming in here, though. I mean, he must have...
Well, I don't know.
He must have found it incredibly intimidating. And what was it like for you? I mean, like, you've worked with the Queen and...
The Queen was great. Hard worker.
That your particular portrait of her is the most natural.
Yeah.
It's the one in which she actually looks like one of us.
I asked not to have any crowns or thrones or anything. I just wanted to dress normal.
But how did you get her to look so natural, just so relaxed? I mean, what did you...
Well, if I told you, I'd kill you, and it's the Official Secrets Act, so I can't reveal it. And what's your security? Is it 5th level or 6th? She was nice. I got on well with her.
Yes. This is my last chance to try to salvage the reputation of what I think is one of the great portrait painters, John Singer Sargent. 1905. The woman, her name is Consuelo Vanderbilt, and she's
American?
She's, yeah, American. The Blenheim estate is on its knees by the 1890s. They need money.
Yeah.
So the 9th Duke marries strategically. She comes with money, £2.5 million in
been like 2.5 billion then, isn't it?
A huge amount.
Yeah.
And so they marry, they're never really happy. And Sargent comes and he paints this portrait, and in it he does an awful lot of the things which I think he's best known for. I see in that neckline, it's Madame X, that he's conveying that she's sexy, she's independent, she's part of the future, whereas he, the Duke, is part of the past. It was said that he positioned them in this way because she was taller than him, but I think what Sargent is actually trying to say is not that she was taller, but that she is the backbone of the family, fundamentally. He is on the periphery.
I love what you're saying. It's really interesting, and I believe you believe in it. But if you did a snap at the time, a Polaroid,
yes,
you could read exactly what you just read into the Polaroid. It's your assumption.
No, it's not my assumption.
It's your assumption. It is. You're reading into something that's probably not there.
No, because I
can't tell all that by looking at that picture.
No, but she would have known.
Yeah, but that's no help to me.
No, I think this is a pretty special painting, and I for me, that this was a man who was...
Aren't you hot?
Too much hot air, is it?
No, it's good. It's all good. It's all good dialogue, but that's not necessarily true because I can't see it. I just see it as a kind of them getting bored standing still all day while they about painting.
And perhaps that's Sargent's mastery at work, right there. There's a truth, if you care to see it. To be too overt would have lost Sargent the commission, but it's there if you stare long enough into the eyes. Just like the Pelleron children, on the surface, impeccably dressed and well-behaved, but linger a little longer. Their faces as sullen as animals in a zoo, stifled by the expectation placed upon them.
Yeah, I think it's kind of a sad picture if you want. I think it's sad.
Well, I'm sorry I haven't convinced you.
No, don't be sorry. You've said a lot, but...
No, but it's not just me. I mean, what...
No, but there can be other wrong people as well. You're not uniquely wrong. Maybe I'm uniquely wrong. Hope so.
In 1907, 2 years after this portrait was painted, Sargent closed his studio. At age 51, he was done with the mugs, as he described them. When asked for a portrait of Lady Radnor, his response was emphatic. Ask me to paint your gates, your fences, your barns, which I should gladly do, but not the human face. With the studio closed, Sargent embarked on a travel adventure. 1,000,000 miles from the opulent sitting rooms of the rich, Sargent did what he had always done in moments of crisis. Retreated into landscape, painting in the open air in a style he perfected through his lifelong friendship with Monet. And it's in his watercolors, free from the constraints of his studio, I think you get a truer picture of the artist himself. He may have painted 800 portraits in his lifetime, but his watercolors run into the thousands, and some of those are here at the Dulwich Picture Gallery in London.
I've always done a bit of watercolour painting, and this is my set, which I've had for, I don't know, 30-odd years. And there's something very special about them. A tiny little set like this that you can fit in your pocket. Yeah, it's a whole studio. Having something as portable, as mobile, as invisible as this meant that he could sit in a Venetian square and capture something in a clandestine form. And the way that Sargent paints with watercolour, it isn't that genteel medium. It isn't the sort of thing that you would do on a Sunday afternoon. This is mad, feverish painting. It was almost like he was possessed by a need to conjure life. I mean, look at this work. You're sitting on the water, you're with him. He wanted to capture that sense of actually being there. The sense, it's not just about light, it's not just about delicacy. This is about something existential of him wanting to place you right in the center of the action. I mean, I know you're not a fan of Sargent's portraits.
Not a fan. I'm sort of a bit indifferent.
Right.
But as Auden said, difference is the least we have to fear from man or beast.
But he had this hinterland of watercolours.
Oh, there she is, floating down the river.
Yes.
Just fell out the boat.
I just love the speed with which you...
Yeah, no, this is great. I love it.
Yeah. But this was the work that he produced for himself.
You've hit it on the head. That's why I'm not sure about his paintings, because he was painting for money.
But this wasn't to please, and this was absolutely...
No, this is because he did it for himself.
Yes.
Look at this. This is a bit naughty, isn't it?
Yes. Well...
Do you think he had lovers?
Oh, gosh, yes.
Cuddles?
I think more than cuddles. Yeah.
Super
absolutely.
cuddles?
Yeah, super cuddles, yes.
Quite outrageous for the sort of...
This is in Europe. These are the men that he obviously used as models and possibly in other ways as well.
The Sargent nudes, discovered after his death in 1925, are just another example of the hidden side to the artist we still know relatively little about. He never married, and his intimate letters were supposedly burned just after he died. A man of contradictions, a socialite and a showman, and yet notoriously private and shy, who in the end loathed the company of the aristocracy, preferring the freedoms of landscape instead.
No, these I like. I wouldn't mind one of these. This is particularly nice, isn't it?
I'm so glad you like this. You come round to his watercolours.
No, this I like. I wouldn't dash out and buy one. Probably couldn't afford it, but this is what I like most of what I like. This. It feels instant. Maybe it wasn't instant, but the trick is to make it feel instant, isn't it?
Yes, exactly. But I've loved spending this time with you. It's been such a pleasure.
No, you're great. I love you. There's not many people you can talk to, is there? Thank you all very much for introducing me to this man.
Oh, well, thank you.
It's been a privilege to meet him.
Oh.
I mean that.
Oh.
I don't like most people.
I think Sargent was always way ahead of the curve. In a career that began in Paris, Sargent saw the Impressionists had chased the light. But he decided he was going after something else. Time. And the culmination of his life's work, I believe, is here, in that great painting at the Tate. Carnation Lily Lily Rose. A fusion of all his genius, combining portrait, landscape, and watercolour, resonant for all of us, and just like a Bailey photograph, timeless.